Welcome back to Y2K. We're out to go impress our new lady friend Vela, I guess?
By gaining 4 levels, and hopefully not causing me to have another mental breakdown.
Oh yeah, no, how are you doing with that, by the way?
Quite alright. I feel like a trip to the mine dungeon will be just what I need to perk right back up. What?
Talking of mental breakdowns.
You know, I kind of like that. It's kind of clever.
Yeah, I was actually not expecting this.
And, you know, it's nice to encourage your friends, and that's apparently all that... Huh.
Yeah, so apparently I've actually been grinding a bunch, because I can just get Michael to, like, level 5 now. I'm sorry I'm so good at this game's combat system.
Well, we all have a cross to bear, buddy.
I guess.
Okay, so nothing actually happened.
Yeah, because I didn't have enough to get to level 5, but of course the game never tells me that.
Excuse me. No, seriously,
This was not the voice I was expecting for the crow.
That really... Marlene, what on earth happened to you?
Although that's just the name my parents gave me. Please call me Crow. Although most people just call me...
You don't need to force yourself into that register.
May I ask why? Oh?
I don't know if this is the voice actor's actual register or if they did something to the voice. The recording doesn't feel affected, so I'm gonna say that this is their natural register.
Yeah, I've got a couple of people I know who are very into voice acting, and they say that the lowermost registers of the human voice are pretty deep.
I see.
Oh shit, I just realized this is the guy who did the game over screen. Caw indeed.
Well, he's certainly putting on a better performance than in that instance.
And the mind dungeon. Back the mind dungeon. For all intents and purposes, the mind dungeon is the only
Marlene
thing
also
that
gets on
truly
monologues, so that's cool.
Cool isn't the
Everything
word
else
I'd
is
use.
just shattered fragments of time and matter floating in the soul space.
Marlene is probably the coolest character in this game so far, even though he totally talks like a Dark Souls NPC, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and again, this is very much at odds with the somewhat kind of perky sounding Marlene that we got to name all those things at the beginning of the game.
Maybe this is one of those situations where that was an imposter Marlene and this is the real one, or vice versa.
This is Marlene's shadow.
I'm not really sure what I mean by that either.
I hope not. They've already ate the mind dungeon, because they maybe not take the thing that makes Persona Persona.
Something vital.
Well, depending on how the mind dungeon is laid out in particular, I feel as though some other ripoffs are rapidly incoming, but let's see what comes of it.
This actually is completely different.
Killing enemies gives you experience points. Spend those experience points to open doors inside the mind dungeon.
I don't know why it feels like he's trying not to laugh now.
You can decide not to kill any enemy and avoid the battle altogether. However, doing so might not
I like
be
his slicked back
wise
crest,
all
though.
the time.
He looks like a business crow.
I'm a fan of the neckband that kind of makes me think of a nut.
I didn't even notice that.
I couldn't take my eyes off it, frankly.
No, I mean, I noticed it, but I thought it was a scarf or something. As you can see, Michael is already better than Alex, mostly by virtue of having levels on him now.
Okay, so I'm getting that the mine dungeon is very clearly the way to level up Alex in specific. Oh.
Yeah. So, I don't think I've ever played a game where this was the tool by which you level up. I still haven't truly figured out what's going on here. What I figured out thus far is this. You have a base random assortment of numbers that you can get when you go to level up, and then those get added to the doors to the values on top of each door, and then that gives you your total level up, but you have to enter the door or enter the room in order to get the points. I don't know why that last part's necessary. I'd rather just be able to pick it if they want to go with, you know, an upgrade system that's so esoteric.
Yeah, I can only assume it's because they want you to actually confirm these choices before you hard commit to them, since, you know, with the locks appearing on the doors, I'm assuming that means you basically can't go back from some of these choices.
Well, it's kind of weird that you say that, because shortly after we meet Marlene, he tells us that we can now change and customize Alex's stats inside the Mind Dungeon, which would imply that you can somehow go back and change it. Anyway, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'll fully admit that. Grandma Party, if you're watching, please tell me how to do this.
It's a little bit too busy, but again, I can kind of respect the choice of the game to actually try and make something like this a little bit more abstract for purposes of, you know, making it a little bit more engaging than it would be otherwise to just watch numbers go up.
Yep, because going through doors and opening them with the same 3 screens for about... How far into the video are we? 6.5 minutes? Yeah, that's not boring at all. I'd almost rather they just give me the numbers and be done with it, because I want to spend as little time as possible playing this game. So, we just unlocked time energy, and I'll probably get to that in a bit. It's not really a skill as such. It's not a skill like the panda barrier. It's just a thing that I guess the party gets. I don't know why you get it in the Mind Dungeon. I'd rather it be like a story event or something.
I can see it as, you know, this is trying to do maybe a little bit too much. Also, is your money actually going down as you do this as well?
I hope not. I wasn't paying attention to that. I was trying to figure out this upgrade system.
I thought I saw a couple of the values change partway through.
Let's see. I hope not. Yeah, it didn't seem to go down that time.
Okay.
I don't know why he shows up as Marlene here and Crow named Marlene in the main bit. In the lobby of the Mind Dungeon, I guess.
Well, there's also, again, I think only an implied discrepancy between the Marlene we're meeting here and the Marlene that was on our post-title screen sequence.
Yes, that one was delightfully millennial. This one is snooty and has an unusual manner of speech.
Though, based on what we understand about this game's writing, I don't think that was actually intended to be a discrepancy.
Maybe he's somehow a different Marlene to us in and out of the game.
Oh.
Maybe he's just tired of Alex's shit, and that's why he's such an asshole.
Well, if that's the case, then you have my sympathy, Marlene. Or Crow named Marlene.
I want to believe that Crow named Marlene is the real protagonist. But apparently he's actually like a really important character because he got a visual novel portrait set and stuff. So we don't have any more XP, so we can't level Alex up anymore.
Which is a problem considering we're only level 4 and we need to be level 5 for the next section.
Yeah, we're going to solve that problem. I wanted to go see if I could level up Michael again, but then I remembered that I still haven't gotten XP, so let's go do that.
So I'm of two minds here. On the one hand, I appreciate that they somewhat tutorialize the you know, unusual nature of that XP system, but I also dislike the fact that they're actually forcing you to grind to level 5, because in RPGs, the main indicator of whether or not you should level up is whether you're actually starting to lose fights.
I guess so, but that's the thing. We haven't really had any fights at this stage of the game yet, so how am I supposed to know? I would venture a guess that I'm probably a little above the level they're expecting me to be at already. Like I've had more fights to this point than they were expecting me to.
Yeah, I can sort of see it if at least your first couple of sojourns into the overworld were any indication.
Yeah, because those aren't supposed to happen.
But at the same time, it's like based on the fact that levels seem to be occurring on just regular increments of 100 XP, again, if the game's expecting you to get to level 5 for purposes of this section, then I'm already a little bit disappointed.
I was trying to get over here now that we've got tools. It doesn't work out so good with Panda. I'm surprised I didn't take damage from him flattening me there. But thanks to our other tool...
Again, it's a little bit clever. The fact that the mouse is there is supposed to tip you off a little.
I actually didn't know that was a mouse. Thank you for pointing that out. I thought it was like a weird possum or something.
Ah. Well, it's not a particularly well-drawn mouse, and I'm also very much distracted by the fact that the shadows going over that cliff were just all kinds of...
So I'm going to skip Southtown. I found this place up here called Monster Den. I don't know what that's about. I assume there are monsters there, and there are.
Fantastic. Something exactly as advertised.
Yes, it's the first thing about this game that hasn't tried painfully to subvert my expectations. So we have that time energy bit up there. I'm hammering on the LT button to see what it does, but it doesn't tick down. Whatever, let's just beat the crap out of these guys.
Probably for the best.
I have started getting good at Alex's combo system. It's just unfortunate that his stats suck.
Well, you getting good at this means that the battles can ostensibly end faster.
Yeah, I tried to use Michael's thing. It took me a while to figure out how it works. I thought I was supposed to be aiming.
I imagine maybe you're supposed to be aiming, but again, that combat screen seemed to be giving you a lot of, well, it gave you a red instruction as well as those effects on its interface. So
yes, and I was trying to use the stick to aim and that sort of thing because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. But no, it does not allow you to aim. It just sort of randomly jitters around.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of unusual. Remember what I was saying before about how this game has problems with signaling? Yeah, I think that's kind of one of those situations. Fortunately, the monsters here are pretty low level. I don't know how much XP they'll give me, but it's enough that Alex can't 1v1 them. Oops.
Well, at the same time, it was enough to get the job done. The thing I'm finding myself now just kind of realizing with the combat system that I'm not really enjoying is the fact that the damage numbers appearing over the monsters' heads are... The fact that they're being kind of overlaid with each other because of the combo system means that I'm having kind of a hard time ascertaining exactly how much damage is being done with these combo attacks.
That's part of what I'm finding over the course of my experience with the game thus far, which admittedly is very little. I'm not seeing a direct correlation between the number of hits I do and the amount of damage I deal. I just failed to do a 3-hit combo and somehow I do 6 damage, even though the numbers that I saw that were blue were like 1 and 2, so you'd think they'd add up to 3, right?
Right.
But they don't. It's just like 1 and 2, and those aren't apparently my damage numbers. There are no more monsters that spawn when you go back in there. I thought maybe there'd be a secret power leveling peninsula or something here, but there's not. Let's just go back to Southtown.
Yeah, even really bad RPGs don't tend to give you one of those right away.
I mean, Final Fantasy did.
Fair enough. But then I guess it was a trendsetter in that regard.
Yeah, they didn't really have anything telling them what not to do. So, we came to Southtown a little bit, but as it turns out, there's not really anything here anyway. I mean, there are a couple people to talk to, obviously. And there is a pizza pasta, so if we want to get our grub on, we could do that. This is probably the most interesting lady here, because she's the one who tells you about the monster dens.
Well, that's certainly the concern about powerful monsters absolutely wasn't the case where we just were, so...
Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with this lady's model.
She's underpaid. That is, at the very least, the root of her problem.
It is one of her problems, but I don't think that's causing her eyes to bug out or whatever is going on with her.
I don't know, man. Dealing with people who work... Talking with people who work minimum wage, you kind of learn... You learn things about people that you wish you would unlearn.
I would like to know how he makes all of his money, even though that doesn't seem to be a problem for us thus far.
Well, clearly he got one of the trees.
Oh man, I wonder if we can go back to Frankton and get our money tree. There's another water fountain here, so of course I'm going to take advantage of that. We don't quite have enough XP to get to level 5, at least not right now. So we need to go find some more monsters to beat up.
I mean, I suppose wandering the overworld would do the trick, or maybe that...
I don't know why Michael's theme song is playing here, but this is a nice area. This is a pretty area. I don't know what the giant candles are for. Apparently none of our tools do anything on them.
Well, I'd imagine you'd need a lighter or something that creates fire.
Yeah, something like that.
So one of these overworld themes is vocal for...
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't think this was a vocal theme when it played when we were talking to Michael for the first time.
No, I think Michael's theme is... Wasn't Michael's theme just that kind of weird, sad trumpet remix of the Frankton theme?
Maybe. This was the first song that played when we talked to Michael.
Oh. Well, shows how much of this game I'm trying to block out already.
I can't say I blame you. This is our level 2 monster dungeon, so I'm like, of course the monsters will be level 2, but no, they're actually a lot bigger than that.
Ooh. Well, I mean, that was certainly the case in your level 1, and I can see the nerves starting to get to you a little bit from how that went.
Yeah, no, that one I goofed on, but I am getting better at doing Michael's. Frankly, I have no idea why Michael seems to not only do more, like, base damage, but also his thing seems to be a lot easier to execute. So it's like you can perform worse at the minigame part of this and still get better results with Michael.
I believe it just would have to do with the fact that he's got fewer inputs to worry about, so I guess while Alex's potential damage is maybe higher, the fact that you can get a bit more consistency out of Michael is what you'll...
Did you notice that the record was in the wrong position?
Yes, I did. Not a great look for your game, guys.
Yeah. I happened to notice that while I was in editing. I was like, what?
I mean, since we were talking about Shadow Hearts and the Judgment Ring a bit earlier, it does sort of fit in with that aspect of how Shadow Hearts was played as well, because you had the option of making the target zones on your Judgment Ring smaller and smaller as you advanced in the game, with the understanding that if they're harder to hit, the payoff is each one would do more damage individually.
Alex's stats are not such that it rewards you enough for doing that. I can get a 9-hit combo and do it perfectly, and Alex just does 2 damage. So it's like, I can either do 2 damage, or I can do 1 damage. Like, A damage is not enough investment for me to actually try, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course I will, because I'm not an incompetent Let's Player.
I feel like I'd make a joke of said he before missing that combo, but whatever.
No, I totally deserve that one.
Well, at the same time, again, for considering there's a 6-level difference here, you don't seem to be under any kind of particular threat.
Not at this point. Alex is getting pretty low on his health, and I am worried about that because of, you know, he's the main character. I figure it's Persona rules where, like, if he dies, the game is over. So far, it seems like the narration is like, he's the only person you should have to worry about. All these other people are just ancillary. I'll go and pop a cheeseburger, which does help.
So there was one thing I was just noticing about the way the models move in the fights there, and I'll ask you to take a look at it in this next encounter just to see if you notice it as well, but take a careful look at the characters' status bars at the very top.
Yeah, what about them?
Well,
where they seem to oscillate?
Yeah. You realize why that is?
Oh, yeah, because Alex is standing still and Michael is in his praying mantis kung fu stance.
The main thing is that they seem to be, as opposed to just being still pictures, they are in fact just cameras centered on the character models as they're performing these actions.
Ah, right, they're doing the Borderlands trick where they just use the frame buffer. That's actually an interesting touch, though. Oh my god, as I look more at Michael's, it's kind of giving me vertigo.
Also note that the camera's moving a little bit because he's actually slightly oscillating too much while he's in that frame.
Michael, whatever you're doing, stop doing what you're doing.
Michael needs to stop in general, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would rather he not be a part of this game. He's not as bad as Alex, because, let's face it, nobody is as bad as Alex. But he's definitely not helping the situation.
See, I notice when he's doing the dodge, how his head actually moves out of the frame entirely on his status.
That seems like an animation goof, to be honest with you.
See, you can see it too when he's doing his attacks, as his head moves forward right out of frame.
I appreciate that Michael at least has, like, a rational response and has something to contribute to the story, however small. You know, Alex is just kind of this bystander that the narration seems to have a fondness for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he very clearly is just sort of there. But Michael, at least, is trying to drive the action forward. He's like, this situation with Sammy, I want to get to the bottom of it. We need to talk to Vela. You know, she seems to know what's up. Like, yes, for all of Michael's character issues, at least he's not Alex. And that's a low bar to set, but...
We'll take what we can get as far as this game's concerned.
Yes. I have to hang on to whatever pitiful scraps of decency that this game provides me. It's the only thing keeping me sane at this point.
Are we thinking Ghastly or Gengar?
Well, I wasn't sure what was going on because I kept trying to phase into him.
He didn't seem to want to have any part of it.
No, he didn't. And I was trying very hard. It's like, come here.
I feel like, wouldn't that be kind of an amazing commentary that... Well, okay, so in Earthbound, when you either beat an area's boss or get a certain number of levels higher than the monsters in an area, rather than try to engage you, they start running away from you.
Ah, huh, that is an interesting bit.
And I'm thinking, what if the commentary here ends up becoming the random encounters start to stop engaging with Alex because they don't want to listen to him.
Or they actively despise you, a la Undertale.
Mm-hmm.
And for good reason in that game. If you were a bad person. If you're nice, it's a great game.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was an interesting camera angle. One right after the other.
Yeah, it was. I'm still trying to figure out the mapping to what level the monsters are to how much XP I get from them. Thus far, I can't find any such mapping, because it seems like I get more XP for fighting monsters at my level, or fewer monsters than I do for getting 50 XP for beating up monsters who are like 4 or 5 times my level. Nah, sorry, we're level 4 right now, so...
I haven't been paying too close attention to the numbers. One thing I'm finding I have a bit of trouble with is that the text boxes advance so quickly, I usually don't have an opportunity to see what's in them.
That was something that I mentioned before. I'm not sure if that's a programming goof. I know I brought it up when we first started getting into combats, like in episode 2 way back when.
I guess it's only kind of sticking with me now because well, since this is fairly combat heavy, I'm trying to find a bit to talk about in that regard.
Yeah, no, this episode is all grinding, and I should have told you about that.
You know, that's fine. But I mean, hey, there's more to analyze than just terrible monologues, and at least this has a slightly lesser chance of causing me to go crazy.
Frankly, the less these characters talk, the happier I am.
Also, you sure did a lot of mashing for 4 damage there.
Yeah. Remember how I was saying before that the level of effort in the minigame parts of these combat systems is not, like, accurately reflecting how much damage they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Michael's photo shoot skill only makes it so it does, like, area damage. It seems to basically take a flat amount of damage that's somehow calculated, I'm assuming, from your inputs on the photo shoot minigame, and then, like, spreads that across however many enemies. I was not expecting the total payout per enemy to be, like, 1 damage, you know?
Yeah.
Because that was a good bit of mashing I did. I stand by that.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. It's something when you have this kind of very mini-game and additional content-focused combat system where you're supposed to be making all of these little inputs to contribute to your overall damage, and yet it still feels very unsatisfying based on the results.
Like, I get that I'm fighting enemies who are, you know, level 10 when I'm level 4, but I'm kind of killing these mini-games. I think I'm doing better at Alex's minigame on average than the game expects me to. I want to be rewarded for that. How dare I?
From the occasional text box, it mentions that he's using karate stances. And, I mean, I don't know what kind of kata you learned that require you to have a record in hand, but sure.
Presumably the same one that Kit uses in the first Dead Rising. Anyway, I'm actually pretty happy with Michael because, again, at least he's not Alex, and that applies to the combat as well. Michael just seems capable of doing far more damage than Alex at any given time. Which is kind of unusual because typically those kind of glass cannon characters that are your carries, so to speak, usually have worse defensive stats than your tanks, right?
Right.
But no, Michael has better HP, he has better PP, so that he can use his skills more often. He has area of effect damage, which, you know, however tiny it is. It's like, why do I want to have Alex here besides the fact that he's the protagonist? Also, this is not quite amp up battle music.
Yeah, I think it's the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a slightly less hype version of the Velt theme from Final Fantasy VI.
See, I'm thinking more like one of the tribal themes from the first Crash Bandicoot.
Ah.
I'm like, okay, that's great. Thanks for exposing me to that, but I was kind of liking some of the battle music. This is just like 3 minutes of percussion or whatever, and that's great.
I mean, all percussion's pretty good. I mean, if you're, say, a fan of some of the Hiroshio Kubo themes from some Ace Combat games, there's quite a bit of percussion.
And I'd like to say that there is at least one Lil Dicky backing track where it's just percussion.
And now we get to see what Panda does, which I'm curious about.
Well, he does jack shit, so let me ruin that for you.
Oh. I'm curious to see what this barrier function is, because you may remember that in Earthbound there was... Okay.
Oh, well, okay, guess Panda's out. It said in the tooltip that Panda protects the team for 3 turns, right?
Was it 3 turns or 3 attacks?
It specifically says in the tooltip 3 turns.
Oh. Well, that's just silly.
And I don't know if that's 3 turns as in 3 rounds of combat where both teams go against each other, or if that's 3 individual actions.
I assume based on that it would have to be the latter.
Well, I thought so too, except that there's another time later where I deploy Panda, and then, like, he takes an attack, and then disappears. This game just actively hates me, I think.
Yeah. On the plus side, the theme seems to have picked up a bit.
Yes, it only took it 3 minutes.
This game is why we can't have nice things. Also very good. I mean, there's always that possibility that the things we're fighting are aliens, so the A is very appropriate.
I hope these aren't what the galaxy has to offer.
Well, if you remember, it was 1999, so I feel like there was a UFO and aliens obsession for a bit during the 90s.
And XCOM was a thing, you're absolutely right. But we also had E.T. by that time.
Right.
You may have noticed that the combat track ended, but we're still going. So
yeah,
it just starts over again.
We've gone back to the slightly chill phase, and then we're gonna. You know, I wouldn't mind trying to listen to this again outside of this game, just because I'm kind of curious to see where the transition is exactly.
Yeah, I would as well. Oh, I figured out what time energy does.
Ah. Ah. I was wondering when that was gonna come into play.
I wish somebody would have told me that I can only use time energy when I'm waiting to dodge an attack.
I would assume, based on the fact that it's filling up on a per-turn basis or thereabouts, that you can actually use it on offensive actions as well.
Well, it moves so slowly that I can't tell. Anyway, we've kind of wiped this area of monsters. We hopefully have enough now, after 30 minutes of solid grinding, to go back and reach level 5 so Vela will think we're cool again.
I don't doubt it for a moment, but then again, having to think of Alex as cool is definitely not something I want to contemplate for too long.
I actually contemplated going back to Frankton and calling Vela, but then I remembered there was a water fountain in Southtown. So.
And look at where that thinking has gotten us, into another random encounter.
I was punished for my hubris.
So yeah, overall, all I can kind of get from this whole thing is that welcome to Y2K, where the monologues are made up and the numbers don't matter.
God damn it, I should have let you title the thread.
I almost did, but
yeah, you did actually. But
that's
the first
a story
thing that you
for
said...
another day.
Well, whatever. Let's save. I guess at least we can go to the mine dungeon from here.